On May the 28th, 1995, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway witnessed one of the most violent and unforgettable crashes in its storied history. Stan Fox, a seasoned driver with a celebrated career, was at the centre of the horrifying incident during the opening moments of the race. The crash, which tore his car in half, left Fox with life-altering injuries and shocked the motorsport world. But what exactly happened that day, and what happened to Stan Fox? Let's talk about it. This is the tragic fate of Stan Fox. Stanley Cole Fuchs was born on July 7th, 1952 in Janesville, Wisconsin. He grew up in a family that had close ties to the automotive industry. His parents owned the Le Mans Corporation, a business known for its production of motorcycle parts and accessories, operating under the well-known brand Parts Unlimited. This environment fostered an early connection to motor vehicles and racing, which would later define his life. He had a natural curiosity for mechanics and speed from a young age. His exposure to the family business likely played a role in developing his interest in motorsports, though his journey into racing was not immediate. Before fully dedicating himself to the sport, he pursued a marketing degree and also worked briefly as a rancher in Arizona. In 1971, Fox began his racing career in midget car racing, and it was here that he found his true calling. The small, powerful cars demanded precision, qualities that came naturally to him. Over the next decade, he honed his craft, quickly earning recognition as a formidable competitor. His breakthrough came in 1979, when he claimed the Badger Midget Championship, a prestigious title in the Midwest circuit. He also triumphed at the Belleville Midget Nationals, one of the most celebrated events in the sport. He repeated his Belleville victory in 1980, cementing his reputation as one of the brightest talents in the midget racing scene. His achievements in this scene laid the foundations for what would become a remarkable career in larger open-wheel racing events. Stan Fox entered the IndyCar scene in 1987, making his debut at the Indianapolis 500, whilst driving for the well-known A.J. Foyt Enterprises. In his first appearance, he achieved an impressive 7th place finish, which remained his best result at the iconic event. This strong performance established him as a capable competitor on one of motorsport's biggest stages. Over the course of his career, Fox participated in the Indianapolis 500 8 times between 1987 and 1995. During this period, he worked with several teams and competed alongside some of the era's top drivers. This brings us to the Indianapolis 500 of 1995, which would go down in history for capturing one of the most insane crashes in IndyCar ever. The 79th running of the Indianapolis 500 took place on May the 28th, 1995, against a backdrop of significant changes in American open-wheel racing. The event marked the final year before the contentious split between the championship auto racing teams and the newly formed Indy Racing League, which was set to debut in 1996. Indianapolis Motor Speedway president Tony George's decision to establish the IRL had introduced uncertainty into the sport, and the 1995 race was somewhat seen as an end of an era. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway, known for its 2.5-mile rectangular oval layout, had undergone improvements to its surface, ensuring a fast but challenging track for the competitors. The lead up to the race saw high levels of anticipation, with teams and drivers working tirelessly during practice sessions to fine-tune their cars for the unique demands of the circuit. The fans could not wait for the race to begin, and those who were expecting drama did not have to wait long at all. The green flag was flown and the race began. As the field entered the first turn, Fox's car suddenly went out of control. It was reported that he was likely trying to avoid contact with the other cars when his vehicle lost traction and began to spin. Unfortunately, Fox's car slid into the path of Eddie Cheever, and the two vehicles collided. Fox's car then hit the outside wall head-on with great force. The impact of the crash was severe, causing the front end of Fox's car to disintegrate and split into two. After the crash, the scene was chaotic. As soon as Fox's car hit the wall with such force, the yellow flags were immediately waved, and race officials stopped the field under caution. Medical teams were quick to respond and rushed to Fox's vehicle. The severity of the crash required immediate attention, and the response time from the safety crews were crucial in preventing further harm to Fox, who was miraculously alive. Other racers, who were still in the early stages of the race, reacted with a sense of shock and concern. Many drivers were visibly shaken by the crash, and some drivers later spoke about the grim reality of seeing such a violent accident so early in the race, and how it added a somber tone to the rest of the day. Fox was unconscious and had suffered serious head injuries. After being taken from the wreckage, he was swiftly transported to the Infield Medical Center and then airlifted to the Methodist Hospital in Indianapolis. Here, he would be placed in a medically induced coma. His condition was critical, but despite the car being torn in two, his legs were somehow uninjured. The race continued after the cleanup, but the atmosphere was far from the usual competitive spirit. The focus had shifted away from racing for a moment, and there was a collective sense of relief when it was confirmed that Fox was receiving medical attention. Despite the seriousness of the accident, the decision was made to keep the race going, though the drivers were all aware of the potential dangers they faced on the track. After the crash, the immediate concern was Stan Fox's health. His injuries were severe, particularly the head trauma he sustained when the car hit the outside wall at high speed. Upon arrival at the medical centre, doctors diagnosed him with a closed head injury, a potential life-threatening condition. To manage the swelling in his brain, Fox was placed into a coma. A blood clot was quickly discovered and surgically removed, and Fox was monitored closely for several days. The medical team's rapid response was critical in stabilising him. Fox remained in a coma for 5 days, during which time the racing community waited anxiously for updates on his condition. By June 2nd, 1995, he began to show signs of recovery and emerged from the coma, though he would not return to racing. His injuries were significant enough to end his career, and the accident would forever shape his life moving forward. In the aftermath, the medical teams on the scene were praised, and doctors claimed that the protection of his car and helmet saved his life. His neurosurgeon said, "A helmet alone can't protect you from a brain injury, but the idea is you let some other mechanical device suffer the impact. In the case of cars, the cars disintegrate or come apart, so they are the vehicle that absorbs the shock to protect the individual. In other words, the car did exactly what it was supposed to do." He was given oxygen immediately after the medical teams got to him, which definitely played a crucial part in saving his life. Eddie Cheever, who was involved in the collision, went on to say, "I was on the outside of Fox and his car made a sharp right. Something must have broken on the car, or he got hit from behind. There was nothing I could do about it. I'm real disappointed, but that's racing." After the 1995 Indianapolis crash, Stan Fox's life drastically altered. The head injuries he sustained were serious, and while he showed remarkable physical recovery, the psychological toll of the accident were profound. The trauma left a lasting impact, and many people said he was never fully the same afterwards. The abrupt end to his racing career, coupled with the mental and emotional weight of the crash, forced Fox to adapt to a new reality. Despite these changes, Fox stayed involved in the racing community. He created the Friends of the Fox Foundation, which aimed to raise awareness about head injuries in motorsport and offered support to others affected by similar traumas. Through this organisation, Fox sought to make a positive impact and honour the sport that had shaped his life. Tragically, in a cruel twist of fate, Fox's life was cut short on December 18th, 2000. At 48 years old, he was killed in a head-on collision on the desert road in New Zealand whilst on his way to a speedway event. This was obviously a devastating turn for someone who had shown tremendous courage throughout his career and his recovery. May he rest in peace. As always, this is not an AI channel, I do everything myself, and if you appreciate my work, subscribe, and if you want to go the extra step to support the channel, maybe consider becoming a member. Let me know what you think about this case in the comments below, and as always, thank you for watching.